so, my dear ones, we have a very special thing to celebrate today, a very special lady to celebrate today. We have with us Reverend Erin's mommy today, and she is celebrating this week her 99th birthday. Stand up, Mother. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mother. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Woo-hoo! That is Mother Aureen, celebrating her 99th year young. And next week we will have cake to celebrate it. So it will be continued. So on Friday, think of Mother Aureen as she celebrates her 99th year, and we will have cake next Sunday to celebrate that. And she is one great good example to us all with regard to how to live, I tell you. So be sure and talk to her, and if you can, get some of the secrets out of her. And so, here we are. This is a very special, amazing Sunday, believe it or not. We are in this holy season, as my mother would call the holy season of Lent. And when I was a child, I hated it every single day, except St. Patrick's Day. Because on St. Patrick's Day, we were giving a reprieve. In Ireland, you could eat all the candy you wanted on St. Patrick's Day, even if it was in the middle of Lent. So it was a great day that day. But Lent for me now is let emerging now the truth. Let emerging now truth. Let the truth emerge in you, through you, and as you now. And let me tell you, we're in for a good one today. Because Spirit is in the mood for slapping us up the side of the ear today. And this is something I've been thinking about amazingly for quite some time, but have been resisting. And so anyway, very recently, somebody came up to me and they said to me, are you familiar with, the interior castle? I said, absolutely I am. I'm very familiar with it. It's the work, the seminal work of the great Saint Teresa of Avila. And it's her story of how she realized Spirit. She never wanted to write this at all, but she was kind of forced to do it by her spiritual directors way back in the 1500s when they were into that kind of thing, forcing. And so she reluctantly did, in 6 months, write her memoirs of the process of it. And her work is called The Interior Castle. Now, along comes Caroline Myss, who is in love with all the mystics, as I am, and she studies Teresa. And she writes this book called Entering the Castle. And so that's the book we're going to be studying for the coming weeks. However, it is not a week's study, it's a lifetime study. And not all of the reading is easy because it really calls us on our stuff. And let me tell you, if anybody's familiar with Caroline Myss, she doesn't hold back either. She does not hold her punches, and she says it like it is. So she is looking to see, with this book, as any good spiritual director is, if we are really serious about our spiritual unfoldment. Now, is our spiritual unfoldment an absolute priority in our lives, or is it just a very comforting little hobby that we enter into every now and again, on an as-need basis kind of thing? That's the question. And so we are in for this great, phenomenal journey if we choose to take it. And we don't have to choose to take it. But if we choose to take it, we're in for a phenomenal journey that's going to lead us into the deeper essence of our soul. We're going to stop playing around the perimeters of our soul and make the agreement to enter fully into the true and deep essence of our soul. And the analogy that's used for this is a castle. Not like any castle we've ever known. It's certainly not like a palace. It's a castle. But it's a state. It's not a place. It's a castle. And within the castle there are 7 mansions. And within each mansion there are many rooms. And you and I have to penetrate each and every one in order to be able to offload all of the nonsense stuff that you and I have identified ourselves with, so that we can truly know ourselves to be that divine aspect of our source and live accordingly. And so the question for each and every one of us today is, will we balk at this opportunity? Are we ready for the opportunity? Are we willing to take the opportunity? Are we going to say yes to this opportunity? And do we feel ourselves able for this opportunity? Now, if you're in this room today, it is my firm belief that yes, you are. Yes, you are. If you are in this room today, all the ones who are not here in the moment are kind of sort of lucky maybe. Unless they get the tape, the DVD, and catch up. But if you're in this room today, you're in it so that this opportunity can be afforded to you and to me, and the choice, the decision to say yay or nay will be ours. But let me tell you, we will be challenged every step of the way as we move deeply into this deeper awareness of ourselves as soulful. And as we do that, the ego will challenge us up and down the yin-yang, and then some. But the thing is, it's okay because we are ready, willing, and able for this challenge. So in the study of spirituality in today's world, the outcome from some of those who have spent a long time studying it have come up with the idea that we've kind of gone soft on spirituality, and that we, with this new idea of our needs being served through our spirituality, we've kind of missed the mark with regard to what spirituality is all about. And that spirituality has become very self-centered, very self-absorbed, according to some experts. Now, I'm only sharing with you what I have studied, what has come to me, and it's up to you to make up your mind about it. I'm only sharing information with you at this point. But that the thinking is that because we have deepened ourselves into the illusion that immortality is something that happens later on, and immortality gets pushed back as time goes on because we live longer and so on and so forth. And because of that, we kind of have become a little bit phobic around eternity and death and all that that means. And we try and push back the boundaries as far as possible. And for us, immortality means Botox and this and that and the other, so that we can push the body to remain as young as it can forever. And then, Caroline May says, and then when it reaches its limits, we're very disappointed with it. And she calls the Botox and everything else our disgrace for doing this to a body and neglecting the understanding and the deepening and the awareness of the soul. So is our spirituality body-centered or soul-centered, or what-centered is it, or is it centered at all? Her question is. And so she says we've gone soft. We've gone soft with the understanding and the realization of what it is to be a spiritual soul unfolding and deepening. Now, in the time of the great Saint Teresa of Avila, her stuff is a hard read, because understand that was it was a redemption-ridden theology, and it was a suffering Christ theology in the 15th century, medieval times, and on up until we reached what we call the Age of Enlightenment in the late 1700s. We're moving into it, into the 1800s and then into the 1900s, where we changed our concept of redemption theology to creation theology, where we exchanged the idea of the suffering Jesus for the cosmic Christ. And so we began to change our understanding of what it was to be a spiritual soul and our understanding of God. Because in the past we were chronically afraid of God, because God was somebody who had his eye on us and was ready to smite us at every turn and twist. And it was a God that had to be appeased all the time, sacrifices made to the God all the time. Well, we know now that that's not the case, that was needed then, and that now we have a deeper understanding of what it is to be a soul remembering, a soul wakening up. And our concept of God is anything but that old concept. Our concept of God is as a power, as an energy, as a presence. A very real and palpable presence, and an unconditional loving presence that doesn't want to test us, doesn't want to torture us, doesn't want our sacrifices, doesn't want any of that, just knows us and sees us as we are in truth, as a shining, brilliant, magnificent soul, an aspect of its own being. And all the other stuff that happens along the way is through our own erroneous thoughts, feelings, doings, thinking, and so on. So what this is offering us today is an opportunity to stop just thinking about God and experiencing God. But there is a price to pay. You don't go on a journey, a really good, fantastic journey, without buying your ticket, paying your price. And the better the experience, the higher the price, it seems to me. As we all know from cruises and things, you can go on that cruise or you can go on this cruise, and the experience is very different, and so is the price. So, as we move toward the drawbridge of this castle, we better be very clear that this is what we want, and that it's going to be an adventure of a lifetime, and that it's going to be phenomenal. And whatever the obstacle race, so to speak, produces, we're well able for it and well equal to it, and we can manage very well. And we will get to the seventh mansion, which is the mansion of unification or unity or self-realization, or what I love, and I will take that from the mystics of old, the mystical marriage. I love the concept of the mystical marriage. And so, and it was indeed in the time of Teresa, and a little bit before that, in the time of Hildegard of Bingen and so on, that the idea and the concept of a mystical marriage was brought in, so that the nuns would wear veils and they would get rings and so on when they entered into this mystical marriage with the Christ. And so, and it's a very beautiful ceremony indeed, and it's very special, and something happens when that happens on that day. So the idea is, do you want to get to the seventh mansion, and do you want to engage in the mystical marriage? It's a question that we all have to answer this week. And the first mansion is where you come flat up, straight up with your small self, the little self, as the book says for the children, the little self. And in that mansion, you and I learn for the first time what true and real humility is, and the power of it, and the strength of it, and the sweetness of it. Because humility is a word we've never fully understood, because we have associated it with humiliation, which is not at all what humility is. Humility has nothing to do with humiliation. And God is not interested in humiliating anyone or anything. That's our own doing. So we go from that to the seventh, which is the mystical marriage and the union of the soul with the source. So here now, as we set ourselves up for this, we have to be willing to look at ourselves and see how soft have we gone as far as our religion or our spirituality is concerned. How soft have we gone on that? Is it indeed this comfortable sort of hobby, or is it an absolute priority in our lives? or somewhere in between? Where are we? And do we want to go for the absolute? Do we really want to go for the absolute? Because this is an opportunity to heal everything. No matter what it is that ails us, it's an opportunity to heal it all if we embark upon this journey, if we are willing to go with the flow of this. And in this, as I say, time of contemplation, in this time of drawing aside and giving ourselves a bit more opportunity to be quiet, to be still, and so on, it's a fabulous time to be embarking upon this journey. And we do need cycles. The human nature of us needs cycles and reminders and opportunities to get back on track. To get back on track. Or to get back to where we once belonged, as the song would say. Get back, get back, get back to where you once belonged. And it can be that kind of fun. It can be that kind of energy. Or it can be, oh my God, I have to go through this. I thought I was done with all that hard stuff. And yet, in the time of the mystics of old, like John of the Cross and the great Saint Teresa and the Hildegardes of Bingen and the Saint Francis of Assisi and Saint Ignatius of Loyola, all that people had on their mind when it came to spirituality was the idea running through their head. If today he passes your way, harden not your heart, for he may never pass this way again. That's what people were focusing on and contemplating on. If today that opportunity should come your way, harden not your heart, for it may not come again. That was what was on their mind. Or the other great one, the other great mantra they had and concentrated on was, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffers the loss of his soul? Now, who wants to be sitting down thinking about that? I mean, how many days have you spent recently thinking about those two things? See, it has changed, and the mystic in Caroline Myss sees that as a softening, a dissipation of our spiritual yearning, our spiritual desire to be one with spirit, something that's watered down. Now, it does not have to be harsh, and it doesn't have to be hard. And the great master teachers, including Jesus and Buddha and so on, brought that home to us, that God is a God of love. God is a God of love. And that God of love wants us to live a happy, healthy, functioning, productive, peace-filled, joy-filled life. When you and I go toward the drawbridge of this castle, we will be hearing, seek you first the kingdom within, and all godly things will be added unto you. All godly things will be added unto you, which is everything that is good and good for us, and pacifies us, and heals us, and enlightens us, and lifts us up, and raises us, and causes us to enter into the peace that passes understanding, and a joy that is complete, and a fullness in the way we live our lives. That's what that's all about. And so, my dear ones, I'm asking us all, are we ready for this challenge? Are we ready for the challenge? Do we want this? Are we willing to make the journey together? Yes. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And we will have some of those books in the bookstore this week from Caroline Myss. As I say, they're a read for a lifetime. We'll be skimming the surface in the sanctuary on a Sunday. And then the in-between time is where the real work happens, and that is up to you. But I will tell you this, that without moments of silence, which is the oxygen of the soul, without your learning to love and appreciate and enjoy quietude, the listening aspect of your soul to the truth of your being, because that's all you're doing. Who am I listening to? A God up there, out there? No, I'm not. I'm listening to the magnificence of my soul is what I'm listening to. And I'm listening carefully enough to be inspired by it, changed by it, and transformed by it. And it's right where I am. I don't have to go anywhere for this. I'm with it. It's with me right now. And it's exciting. It truly is exciting. And do you know what it does? It knocks the fear out of us, knocks it out of us once and for all. And the only thing that stops us from entering that castle is fear and nothing else. Fear of what God might ask of us. Fear of the sacrifices God might want from us. God wants nothing from us, and certainly no sacrifices. All that God wants for us is a whole and a beautiful, wonderful life. That's all. And for us to be able to tune into that amazing grace that is in us and around us and about us long enough to wake up and know we're okay. All is well. It's already done, whatever it is we think we have to do. And so, this will be an amazing thing for you and for me to get at a deeper level. Now, we've known about this for a long time, but to get it at an experiential, deep level would be to cause us to soar and to be that great, good, wonderful blessing that we're here to be. In other words, to be ourselves, our great selves. And so that looks like contemplation, meditation, prayer of all kinds, and an open willingness to enter into spiritual practice. And the most important spiritual practice would be to be able to be quiet and still and listen. Learn how to listen. Those would be the tools that we need for the journey. These are what will support us on our way. Prayer of all kinds. And there is only one kind of prayer, and it's a deep realization that I am the prayer myself. But within that, to take the tools that are available to us in the arena of prayer and to use them, whatever works best for us, and you will know whichever one that is. But we do need the spiritual study, then the contemplation upon that, the meditation upon that, and then the sitting still and the quietude to listen and hear what that has to bring to us, because it has a lot to bring to us. So, it's a great adventure, it's a great story. Grab your journals, be ready, whatever else it does take for you to help yourself to get to that chair that's going to help you to take this journey into the inner sanctum, into the Holy of Holies, so that you can know once and for all you are standing on holy ground. And the holy ground is holy because you are standing on it, and because you are the vessel and the container of the Most High, the Almighty, the incredible, the magnificent, and that which has chosen you to be its tabernacle, to be its Ark of the Covenant, to be its Holy of Holies, to be its dwelling place in form on this plane at this time. That's what it's all about. It's about razzmatazz, spiritual razzmatazz and excitement, and the ability to face yourself and all the nonsense and go, and not be frightened by it, not be scared by it, not to be lessened by it, not to be talked a story to by it, but to say, I know who you are, and who you are is no thing. You cannot have your way with me any longer. You are not the boss of me. There is greater than you are standing in me, with me, through me, and as me. And that alone is what I will answer to, and nothing less than that. So it's not going to be like any of your other spiritual journeys where you had to show up and be willing to do penance and God knows what not else, and feel miserable and wretched and bowed down and chained and imprisoned and tied, or whatever it was that you felt in the past, when religion was once upon a time a very weighty thing that was placed upon our shoulders. No more, I say. It is the light that illumines us. It is the power of grace that raises us up. It is the godliness of the indwellingness of the power of life itself that is going to accompany us and make sure that we do transform and transcend. That's what we're in for. Is it good? Are we ready for it? And so it is.